All right, let's get to it. So we've been talking about the Phoenix Police Department and the incident, the mess. I don't know what you want to call it, but there was a phone call that from a Circle K employee that said, hey, listen, there's a white guy in here causing problems. He won't leave the store. 2 Phoenix police officers show up. They take the white man out of the store. The white man says, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. You see the guy over there across the street? That guy assaulted me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had 2 Phoenix police officers take the man's claim at face value, left the white guy, and went across the street to talk to the black guy.
In the car. They drove over there.
Right. And the gentleman, his name is Tyron McAlpin. And so he's across the street, and before he knows anything, he's being handcuffed. He's being hit. He's being tased.
Yeah. Before he knows anything, the officer rolled up on him and said one time, hey, buddy, you mind waiting here for a minute? And then nothing. A second later, the cop's door opens, and he's hitting Mr. McAlpin. So
all right.
We've got his attorney on the line.
Mr. McAlpin's lawyer is joining us here on KTAR. His name is Jesse Showalter. Jesse, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing good. One of the things that I want to know, because we're still trying to figure out what exactly happened here. Did your client, Tyron McAlpin, have any, I guess, interaction with the white guy across the street?
So my client was in that Circle K earlier that morning, just prior to police being called. And after all of this happened, the police officer, a different police officer, this is documented in the report, went back to the Circle K and watched the surveillance video and saw that the white gentleman was acting bizarrely, taking an aggressive stance, and looked like he was in a fighting stance at one point, and saw my client, Mr. McAlpin, in the video not doing anything of note, and certainly not doing anything that merited any police attention. So that is in the police reports that, and it's documented, and obviously no charges came. There was never any charge against Tyron that he had assaulted that gentleman.
No physicality between the two when they were at the Circle K together?
That's correct.
Jesse Showalter joins us. He's the attorney for, is it Tyron or Tyrone?
It's Tyron.
Tyron McAlpin. So, Jesse, one of the things we want to understand is, certainly in the video, it appears, we know that Mr. McAlpin is deaf and couldn't hear the police officer's command or direction. But was there any other interaction other than what we're seeing in that video between your client and the police prior to the officer getting out of the car and initiating contact?
No, there was not. And just to kind of fill in detail, that attack on Tyron occurred about, I'm going to estimate, 400 feet from the apartment where he lives with his girlfriend and his 6-month-old son. So he was walking home to his house when this happened.
Is there, and I know this would be contrary to what the claim you'll eventually bring, but was there anything that occurred? I mean, we're just trying to find something that caused the officer that you're aware of to potentially say, I have to get out of the car and initiate contact with Mr. McAlpin, other than he didn't respond within a second to his one direction?
No, and this is something that I know that people have been seeking comment from we've been trying to get more information, more explanation for why this happened, and the silence from the city of Phoenix is just really alarming. There is no explanation for why this officer accelerated and escalated the situation in the way he did. And I've had a lot of experience talking to police officers, police experts in police practices, and I think what all of them say is that it's really dangerous for police officers to jump into a situation like that. It endangers members of the public. It endangers themselves. And, I can't see any explanation for it. It seems to be contrary to police practices and City of Phoenix training.
Jesse Showalter is joining us. He is the lawyer of Tyron McAlpin. The black gentleman who is deaf and has cerebral palsy and was in a parking lot, and two police officers wanted to talk to him, and I guess they thought he was ignoring, and then they tackled him and hit him a couple times, numerous times, and then tased him. I'm just going to play the audio of the 13 seconds of the confrontation, and then I have a question.
Hey, buddy, stop where you're at.
Sure.
Have a seat.
All right, and then you hear the confrontation. Did your client even hear the officer say, "Hey, buddy, can you stop for a second?"
No. And so one of the things that I've noticed in kind of like various commentary, kind of, YouTube comments on this is observations that Tyrone has AirPods in.
Yeah.
One of the learning curves on kind of deaf culture, and I'm not super their with it, is being deaf doesn't necessarily mean you have zero perception of sound.
Right.
There's various grades of deafness, and Tyrone is not able to understand any words that are spoken to him. He has severe deafness. He communicates in sign language. He's fluent in sign language, but he can hear the bass in music. He can, he can hear, some very other minor things, but, he really, and a lot of deaf people enjoy listening to music. So it's not at all unusual for that. He did not hear what the officer said. And, the other thing I'd note is the officer didn't turn on his lights, which is kind of a universal signal that police officers use to indicate they want to stop somebody.
Hey, so your client did not hear what the officer said from inside the car when the officer's in the car. When the officer got out, and I know you've talked to your client about this, did he feel like someone else was attacking him? Because his arms were flailing around too. And when I watched it, I thought, this guy has no idea that there are police that are right on him. Did your client know who that person was? Did they know that it was a cop that put hands on him?
I'm not sure when during that encounter Tyrone realized that he had two police officers beating him, but he certainly realized it during that encounter. I don't know the exact point when he realized that.
Jesse Showalter joins us. He's the attorney for Tyron McAlpin, the deaf gentleman who had an interaction with the police. Jesse, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't think there's any way that the police would know this. They didn't know his name. They didn't know Tyrone's name or who he was when they went over to him, correct?
So far as I don't honestly know the answer to that. I don't know if, their claim is that they had no idea who he was, and I think their claim as well is that they were not aware of his disabilities at the time they immediately made contact with him.
Did Tyrone, and again, it wouldn't matter here because they don't know who he is, but did Tyrone have any sort of does he have a police history? Does he have an arrest record? Anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No. And that's,
not relevant to this, I know.
One of the kind of, that's one of the kind of shocking things. He doesn't have any arrest history. He's never been convicted of a crime. He's a very sweet man who honestly really likes people and is a very helpful person. And, I've had an investigator speak to the people at the Circle K that morning because, I'll just tell you, I'm a very skeptical person. I don't, when I go out on a limb in a case like this, I want to make sure that I'm not stepping wrong. I'm not saying things that aren't true and that I know what the case is. And so, I had people go out I had an investigator at the Circle K interview the employees who were on shift that morning, interview employees from the night shift, and they all said, they know Tyrone. People in the neighborhood know Tyrone. He's a nice guy. He's very helpful. he was there. He was there that morning and opening the door for people. He comes in frequently. He buys. His girlfriend works from home, and he'll go to the Circle K or another Circle K and buy a drink for her, kind of get out of the house, and then go home and bring it to her. And he's an innocent man.
Yeah.
And
did he suffer any injuries?
Yeah.
Did he suffer any injuries?
He was treated for a concussion immediately afterward, and he still has a giant lump on his forehead. He has not, since being released from jail, he has not been checked out for any other injuries.
How long was he in jail?
He was in jail for 24 days.
Oh, my goodness.
He was in jail for 24 days because of this?
He was in jail for 24 days. The bond was set at $7,500, which he could not afford. And there is a nonprofit organization called the Bail Project that became involved at the behest of the public defender's office. And so he made bail after 24 days in jail, thanks to them.
Wow, we did not know that. Is Jesse, you're obviously involved on the civil side. You have several months to file your notice of claim with the city. Any idea how much you're going to ask for in that notice of claim at this point?
I don't know. That's not my decision. That'll be my client's decision, obviously, with my after a discussion. The other thing I'll say is, I think it's always important people know this, is that if they're injured by government actors in the state of Arizona, and government actors can include things like SRP, that they have to file a notice of claim with the government actor. If it's police, if it's something that happens at a school, if it's something that happens at the jail or the prison, they have to file a notice of claim within 180 days to preserve their claim.
Right.
That only applies to state law claims.
Okay. All right.
There's no notice of claim requirement if we file a federal civil rights lawsuit. And I think that's what I see on video, is that every American citizen has a right to be free from unreasonable seizures under the Fourth Amendment.
Hey, Jesse, we got to run. We have to run the news, but let me just ask you: have you been in contact, or the Department of Justice, has it been in contact with you or with Tyron?
We've been in contact with with the Department of Justice yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
Jesse Showalter, Tyron McAlpin's lawyer, the man who was an interaction with the police officer. The video's gone viral. That's what we've been talking about. Jesse, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.